What up friends, I'm James, your host, and today I'm reviewing the newest Poppy album, I Disagree. This is the newest full-length release by YouTube sensation and musician, Poppy. She of course started on the scene by making these very weird, minimalistic, social commentary videos, and then started dabbling in music a bit. She kept up this persona for her first release, Poppy Computer, and then lowered the veil a little bit to show a bit more of her true self when she released Am I a Girl? Poppy has essentially started in synth pop, touched upon this sort of hardcore rock / metal in her second release, and has finally completed the transition and gone full metal for the third album. Now, it is worth saying that it's sort of complicated to talk about her history, especially after the most recent split that she had with her creative director, I guess, Titanic Sinclair. That relationship was messy, although I think it is essential to discuss it in order to fully grasp this album and her headspace that she was in when she was writing it. And we'll touch upon that later, because this album is a fantastic force in self-identity, confidence, vulnerability, and just standing up for yourself. First off, we're hit with the immediate punch to start off the album, with Concrete. Starting off with the hottest bar of 2020, bury me 6 feet deep, cover me in concrete, turn me into a street. This just expresses her darker state of mind at this point, although adding a touch of humor in it as well. I feel like that's present on a lot of instances of this album and her previous albums, but it really comes out here as well, and they're more stand out here too. The sugary Kawaii metal chorus is very reminiscent of baby metal, and the sing-song verses are hilariously contrasted by the heavy metal chugging during the pre-chorus and chorus. It's crazy. Don't get me wrong though, this is still a dark song in spite of the subtle humor, because a lot of this track is expressing how she just doesn't want to exist anymore because of what she's going through. She does a great job in tackling both aspects, the comedy and the seriousness. I Disagree is when we get, I would say, the first true taste of her situation. It's hard not to apply the lyrics of this song to Titanic, who Poppy has recently come out in revealing his sort of manipulative and abusive tactics towards her and other people that she knew as well. She is burning away her old life and regaining control, and this sort of melodic metal instrumentation complements her shouted second verse. It really does show that she's standing up for herself, and the Japanese portion of the lyrics proves that she doesn't agree with him and will not be under him anymore. She'll do things on her own terms. Now for Blood Money, my favorite track on the album. The melodic yet gritty intro leads us to an explosive chorus with industrial undertones and almost synth-punk levels of electronics. It's so cool. There's also these tranquil moments that are contrasted by the explosive chorus as it comes in once again. I love this moment of silence where we're given us just a single second to reflect on what we're hearing here. The reference to grabbing hands from Depeche Mode's Everything Counts is also a great subtle way to represent the control that her manipulator had over her, and how he's trying to sort of beg for forgiveness even after all that he's done, and hopefully he knows is wrong, but, you know, it doesn't seem he's going to be admitting that anytime soon. It's just such an intense and fantastic combination of sounds. Anything Like Me starts slow, although gains energy soon enough. Poppy is seemingly shedding her submissive self here, while also possibly talking from the perspective of her manipulator, expressing his very high and mighty and narcissistic attitude. I love the more alternative, bouncy beat here with this sort of heavy punk guitar. It feels very classic metal, yet fresh with Poppy's modern style. The ballad-esque part at the end adds this sort of serene moment to close off the track. It gives almost a very sorrowful vibe, as she's still wrestling with this old version of herself. Feel the Crown, however, is probably one of the only instances on this album where I'm not too crazy about it. The sort of dream pop verses really don't mesh well with the industrial metal chorus here. And the vocals especially lack the punch needed to start off this chorus. When the chorus does get going, though, it is pretty good. There's just not a lot of seamless transitions in this one. Compared to the other songs, this one is very jittery, and it just feels like separate parts of a song rather than one cohesive experience. I do like the lyrics on this track a lot, though, as she's sort of getting out of her bad situation and is using this to encourage other people to get out of their bad situations as well. Nothing I Need is pretty good in its own right, although it feels a little disjointed from the rest of the record. While the instrumentation doesn't really match a lot of what the other tracks are doing, the general mood is right at home, I will say. This is a very sorrowful track, with Poppy dealing with her fame and the person behind the curtains. Everybody only saw her persona, but not the trauma that was underneath it all and everything that she went through. I do like the sparse instrumentation, and I do appreciate how the attention is on her vocals here, although I feel like it would be more at home on, say, Am I a Girl, rather than I Disagree. Now, Sit Stay, on the other hand, is so kick-ass. It's definitely the most synth-punk styled song on here, with this gritty guitar and just pulverizing bass. I love the attitude on her vocals here as well. It fits with her explaining how she was expected to be sort of subservient and quiet to her manipulator's wishes and his creative vision as well. The more mellow moments on the track are definitely a contemplative touch that add this sort of emotional weight to the song's message. It kind of gives us this sort of haunting silence in a way. The lines about how artists have the beat stopped on them when they start expressing their opinions and themselves in a genuine way was very well done, and I love the intensity as the track culminates. Bite Your Own Teeth is by far the heaviest moment on the record. It's just a pure, attitude-filled rage of beautiful proportions. She's basically taking the power back by using the same attitude that her manipulator used on her and sending it back at him. I love the sing-songy, almost taunting first verse, along with the slower second verse, too. And then we have the breakdown, which is basically the metal equivalent of AWOL Nation's Run. This thing is comically heavy in the best possible way. There's like one chug every 2 seconds. It's so funny. Nearing the end of the album, we mellow out a bit, though, and start taking things in a much more contemplative and slower direction with Sick of the Sun. This is honestly one of those sadder songs on the album, really giving light to her hopelessness. It's perhaps written right after she started going out on her own, right after the split, because it really does feel like she's very lost and aimless in this track. I love the shoegazy reverb in the guitar, along with the ethereal beat and synth, and the warmth of the acoustic guitar, too. They all come together to create a very lush sound. The lyrics about her not trusting anyone and how she feels like she's just drifting through existence are also extremely poignant. And especially with the lines about when people told her that things would end up okay, and they never really did. Finally, we come to Don't Go Outside. What a fucking closer. This feels almost like a Metallica ballad, dude. The elegant and somber guitar is a great way to highlight her vocals about her depressive state and just general distrust of everything and everyone. When the gritty Electro-Industrial beat comes in, it's haunting. And the perfect build-up to this hard-hitting next act of the song. This aspect of the track has these fantastic guitar solos alongside an eerie synth. It's a journey, this track. We then go back into our more somber mode, repeating everything will be okay, while showing her rise in strength before we finally reprise some of the singles from the album. This creates just a riveting final act to the song and showcases the previous lyrics in a new and hopefully a more optimistic light. This one's just breathtaking, man. Poppy has truly reinvented herself with I Disagree. Though there are some tongue-in-cheek moments reminiscent from her early days here and there, this honest and powerful look into the Moriah behind Poppy it's just far more interesting and compelling than anything she's done up until this point. Her backing band and the general composition of the record is is fantastic. It manages to combine some unlike sounds in new and exciting ways. Not to mention that they're almost seamless most of the time too, which is especially impressive. Poppy is still shaking off some of the past bubblegum elements and tropes and things like that, and some of the sounds don't mesh as well compared to those on other tracks of the album, but these instances are very few and far between, and overall it's a very solid experience. Her vulnerable lyrics, excellent vocals, and engaging aesthetic and vibes all come together to create a very memorable, relatable, and empowering experience. I'm feeling a light 9 on Poppy's I Disagree. This was amazing. I loved it. Of course, we do have to talk about the album cover on this show, and I love this album cover too. It's such a great shot of her. I love this sort of metal filter with this almost face paint sort of aesthetic. Has this almost death metal vibe to it with a lot of their logos and stuff like that. The black and white color scheme is great, and it just touches upon every part of the record. It has the beauty, the elegance, the grittiness, the darker side. It's a perfect album cover. But that's what I think on Poppy's newest album. What did you think about it? Was it everything you expected and more? Did you like her older stuff better? Let me know. And until the next one, farewell.